And welcome back to Life Unrehearsed. Every year since 1970, on April 22nd, we celebrate Earth Day. This day serves as a time to appreciate the environment around us and, importantly, a reminder to take actions to preserve our ecosystems and address the ongoing climate crisis. April 22nd is one symbolic day, but as countless environment organizations emphasize, every day is Earth Day, and Earth Day Canada is one of the many groups that are striving to better the environment through educational and hands-on initiatives. Joining me today is Valerie Malamo, the Executive Director of Earth Day Canada. Valerie, welcome to Life Unrehearsed.
Thank you so much for the invitation, Matt. It's great to be here.
Well, thank you for coming on. It's tomorrow, Valerie, and boy, oh boy, so glad we can get you on to spread the good word. So first of all, what is the theme of this year's Earth Day Canada campaign?
This year's campaign is about sustainability. We are calling it Earth Day is Leg Day. And it's really about getting people to ditch the car when they go to work on Monday, because April 22, tomorrow, is a Monday. It's a work day. So why not give another try of transportation, commuting by another means, something like a bus, a metro, your bike, whatever. Carpooling works too. The whole idea behind this campaign is to reduce gas emissions from a notorious sector, which is driving cars. And currently, we are seeing a surge in single car driving to work. So we are asking people to join in this challenge and take tomorrow to go to work with something other than your car. So find a buddy, use your bike, get out a pass, and take the bus to your work, because it's one way that you can significantly cut emissions and improve climate crisis.
No, I love it. And it's interesting. You do it when, and it really shouldn't be just once. And hey, if you do, you might realize, hey, that wasn't so bad. And then hopefully that can be more of a trend. So love the campaign theme, Valerie. Now, Earth Day Canada is an organization, and I'd love to hear a little bit more of some of the key programs at Earth Day Canada.
Yeah, well, we are not just about one day. That's what people think, but we do Earth Day every day. Like you mentioned in your intro, we have different programs that we run with different companies that we partner with. We do a lot of work around, food waste, because this is something we're quite concerned about. We work as well with waste management in general, which is a strong emitter of all kinds of methane gases, and we need to make sure people are sorting their trash and getting all of that stuff out of landfills. So we work a lot on that sector. We do a lot of tree planting as well. We've planted close to 1 million trees over the last few years, and we're quite excited about the current programs that we have with different farmers. We also do stuff around sustainable mobility. Of course, we've got our campaign this year, but we also do things like help install fast charging networks, because we know that electrification is not the only solution, but certainly one of the ways that we're going to reduce our overall emissions. So we are certainly doing activities in that space. And we do general awareness stuff. We do a lot of conferences and workshops, and many companies and cities have called on us to give their employees or citizens 1 hour, 1 hour and a half workshops on different themes related to some environmental behaviors that they can try out and learn more about. Things like food waste exactly is one of them. We've got one on just general eco-friendly behaviors, and we have one that's more focused on waste management at home. So these are things that are accessible to a lot of people, and we do hundreds of these every year.
Lovely. Amazing, really. Listening to Life Unrehearsed, Matt Delvecchio here, talking to Valerie Malamo, the Executive Director of Earth Day Canada. Now, Valerie, those are a bunch of proactive initiatives done by Earth Day Canada. However, we really need everyone to help out. So I'd love to get your opinion on how can individuals actively contribute to preserving the environment through our everyday actions, say at home, on our own.
Well, there's lots of pressure put on individuals, but they are part of the solution. We do have 4 or 5 areas where people can take a significant dent in their behaviors. One of them that's the most demanding is we do extensively travel, and taking a flight is very, very costly for the environment. So if you can curb your desire to fly off at a moment's notice across the world, that's certainly going to reduce your personal emissions. We need to be selective. I'm not saying not travel at all, but some people travel multiple times a year. And no matter how much of the other stuff you do well, like reduce your meat consumption, you do sustainable traveling by having, using public transit, for example, all these things are great, but they won't offset a single trip to Paris, right? So
Wow.
one of the areas where we can certainly make an effort is to reduce our flights across the world. Certainly vegetarian diets and reducing how we travel, locally, picking public transit, making sure that you're using sustainable mobility are also great ways of ensuring that we have, reduce our personal emissions and our personal footprint. But also you can help out by providing funding to organizations that help protect biodiversity, for example. You can volunteer and, plant trees in your own backyard if you have a backyard. All of these things generate protective environments. They reduce heat domes in cities if you live in the country, helping out protect conservation areas or other ways that you can combat the effects of climate change, because more trees planted, more biodiversity protective is all better for us. So, if you have an interest for nature, that's certainly something that's overseen.
Sure.
Typically, we talk a lot about greenhouse gases, but protecting biodiversity is just as important as reducing our gas emissions.
I love it. This is just very good examples of what we can all do as individuals. And I know the business world, Valerie, is so important that can contribute. So I'd like to get your take on what businesses can do to contribute to alleviating the climate crisis.
Well, they certainly have lots on their plate because they are contributing significantly, and most businesses are more and more looking at, creating their own path to net zero and figuring out where their emissions are. And that's the first thing they need to do, is identify where they have emissions and try to reduce those emissions before compensating them. They need to find ways that they can emit less and work with their value chain and go back up the chain and find out how they can reduce that. But, if I want to sort of, circumvent around this year's theme, a lot of the emissions come from transportation. So what are they doing to reduce emissions from transportation? Are they electrifying their fleets if they have, vehicles? Are they encouraging their employees to travel more sustainably? What kind of policies they have in place for helping employees curb their desire to to travel by car to their office? We have companies that have put together some robust carpooling programs with their employees, which they really like. It's just that it was facilitated by the company. It's not necessarily an expensive initiative, but it can seriously put a dent in that kind of behavior from their employees. So they need to identify where they can make gains and really make an action plan and stick to the plan. But there's certainly multiple areas. It depends on the kind of business and the kind of impacts that they have.
Talking with Valerie Malamo, the Executive Director of Earth Day Canada, which happens to be tomorrow, April 22nd. Valerie, we have only about 30 seconds left. However, how can our listeners get involved with Earth Day Canada?
I'll make it very simple. Why don't they just become a member of our organization by providing a membership? If you're an individual member, it'll cost you $30. We will plant 3 trees with that, and it will contribute to funding to our organization so we can do continuous environmental action that has real impacts on reducing, effects on the environment. So become a member.
Become a member. And all I guess they do is just look up Earth Day Canada on a search. Is that it?
Yeah, and that's it, Earth Day Canada, and they can click on our webpage where there's a membership, and in 2 clicks, they'll be a member.
All right, well, very good. Thank you very much, Valerie, coming here on a Sunday. Big day for you tomorrow, and I'm sure throughout the year, but I really appreciate your time.
Thank you very much for the invitation. Have a great Earth Day.
Thank you. That's Valerie Malamo, the Executive Director of Earth Day Canada. Coming up next, Dr. Elle Stern and Jamie Fizet will take us through the fascinating Emergency Medicine Simulation Center at the Jewish General Hospital. Really is something to see, and I think as patients, we will be very pleased to hear the training that goes on in these emergency rooms. And that's coming up after a CTV News update.